if I can only do worse?
The whole thing is unusable.
This might be a problem.
That's okay. I knew that would happen.
I fear there is a great disturbance in the Force.
Howdy folks, I am the Brickstorian, and that is a real clip from Ninjago. Check it out, link is in the description. How you doing? It's been a while. It's been, what, almost a year since the last part of this series, checking out my my Ninjago store display. Thank you again for joining me. This has been a project. Hopefully you've seen the first part of this series of checking out a Ninjago store display from 2021, the one that history forgot. It is linked right up there. Super convenient for you to check out if you haven't. And like I said, a project. This has been a solid chunk of my life that I will never get back. And there's a lot of numbers that I could throw out, like this one or this one. But you know what? Let's just take it right back to where it all started. We'll go back to the beginning of this process on part 2 of restoring my Ninjago store display, and I will let me from 3 months tell you about it from there. Hello, folks, and welcome to part 2 of the series where I am working on my Ninjago store display. This has been a long time coming, but I really wanted to give this the proper time and attention that it deserved. In part 1, we did a lot of covering the history of the actual store display, and we also did some basic restoration, but there's still a lot of work to do. So we still need to remove the giant wooden pillars that were hideously wood glued in. We still need to replace the entire shell because basically the whole thing's broken. At least the lid is broken, and it makes sense to just do the whole thing all in one go. That will involve us transferring the stickers, the graphics that are on the outside. It will also involve us having to figure out how to redo the lights that are on top, which also is going to mean that we're going to have to find some way of hardwiring it in so that it no longer uses the insane amount of batteries that it uses at the moment. And I think that's it. It's shell, it's wooden pillars, it's lights, it's graphics, it's power. I think that's it. So let's get started by talking about how we're going to do all of this. The first thing that we're going to do, obviously the wooden pillars that are wood glued in, we could just remove those, that's fine. And because they've left so much residue on the shell, let's talk about the shell first thing. So there's 2 different ways that we could go about this. The first one is the way that they've done it on the official store display, and that is to get a long piece of acrylic that they have heat bent into shape around the corners. So you get those soft edges and it's kind of a light, thin plastic material. That's not my favorite because I don't know a whole lot about plastic bending, and I worry that if I mess it up, I'm going to ruin an entire long piece of acrylic, and that's going to really put a damper in my day. So the other way that we can go about it is actually similar to how this minifigure display case is set up. And it is basically just sheets of acrylic on all of the sides, and then a giant sheet on the front as well. And then these ones are actually screwed together. They have holes drilled into them that screws then go into, attached to these little metal corner pieces. And then the front panel is all magneted on. That's a really cool idea. I do have some experience with working with this kind of plastic, and I worry that if I drill into it, I'm gonna crack it, I'm gonna break it beyond repair, and that's going to be just disastrous. So I don't want to do that. So instead, I'm looking for something that is going to be sturdy, like this is, something that I'm not gonna absolutely mess up just by doing something a little bit wrong, and something that doesn't involve drilling. So that's going to mean glue instead. I've done a little bit of research into what kinds of acrylic we're going to be looking for. I did some measurements on the actual display itself, and so I think we're going to go with something like this 24 by 48 inch acrylic sheet. Let's see, I can find it on Home Depot's website for basically $40-ish a sheet, which is going to be expensive, but not a deal breaker. So basically, the display itself is 24 inches tall by 48 inches wide. So that's going to be the front panel is going to need to be those dimensions, and the top panel is going to need to be those dimensions, and the back panel is going to need to be those dimensions. Then the two side panels, I believe, are 24 by 24 inches square. So I can cut one 48-inch piece in half down the middle to make that work. And then we're going to use glue to attach all of these together. So we'll have our front piece, our back piece, our two side pieces, and our top piece. We don't need anything on the bottom. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But really it's 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets. So 4 sheets at $40 a piece. That's going to be $160. And I think we don't need anything more than 1/8 inch thick. I've also done some researching on what kind of glue to use, and I've learned to not use super glue. The fumes are so strong that they dissolve the acrylic a little bit and leave this cloudy look on it, which is something that I really don't want. I want this to be as clear as possible. So we're going to be using acrylic solvent cement instead, which is much thinner, and it doesn't fumigate in the same way. It just dissolves the acrylic in key places to attach it all together. In terms of the wooden pillars, the only thing that I'm really worried about is how they're attached to the base. Is that going to damage what is in there already? The actual flooring of the store display. I'm not too worried about that though, because it's just preliminarily, it looks like it's just attached on the sides. So I should be able to unscrew the sides using these little bolts on the sides, and then pull the whole thing off the top. In terms of the lighting on top, I think my plan is I'm just going to use some sort of like 3M tape, some of this adhesive tape right here, to attach it in strips, because most of them are strip lights. So I think that that should be fine. The last thing in terms of the shell is going to be the stickers. As you can see, this sticker is attached to the shell, but all of the other ones are attached to the actual base. So in theory, if I'm able to just remove the shell around it, this is the only one that I'm going to have to replicate. So I think my plan for that is going to be, once we remove the shell, I'm going to cut that out of the acrylic. I'm going to get a high resolution scan of it, and then I'm going to reprint that back onto sticker paper in some way, and then I'll use a ruler to get exact measurements of exactly where it was and try to fit it on again to the new shell as perfectly as I can. I'm a little nervous. This is the one thing in my mind that actually takes away from the value of this store display, because here's the thing, right? I'm a Lego collector. I want to collect the Lego as it was produced. That's part of the thing. Even if the brand is imperfect, the point of collecting the specific Lego products and analyzing and cataloging their history is to look at it warts and all, right? The imperfections as well as the things that bring us joy. So there's a little part of me that feels like taking this whole shell apart and doing a different style of shell on here is in some way modifying or damaging or creating an inaccurate historical representation of this store display. But then on the other hand, I remember that it's Lego, and Lego is designed to be modified. Lego is inherently modular. I talk about this all the time. It's designed to be customized and whatever. And so in terms of this, I think given that it's cracked beyond repair, given that there is nothing I can do to restore it exactly the way it is to its former glory or whatever because of the wood posts and the damage to the top, I think the only way to get this as close as we can to what it once looked like is to just completely redo it. Just completely redo the shell and try to recreate it from the ground up. So is it going to be 100% historical? No. Is it going to be weird if I get some more store displays and this one has a different style of shell? Yes, I've thought about that, but it's just worth it. It's just worth it. And then the final thing that we have to do is replace the batteries. They're all D batteries in the bottom here, but thankfully there exists items like this, which are D battery replacers. So basically what I do is I would get a bunch of these, chain them all together, and then take all the USB connectors, put them in a USB hub, plug that hub into the wall, and then this thing would get full power. These things are only $7 or $8 a piece. So let's see if there's, I think, 6 in there, then yeah, that's not going to be too expensive at all. So that means in terms of material, I'm going to need to buy the acrylic panels for the shell. I'm going to need to buy the glue, which is the solvent cement. Then I'm going to need to buy I've got the 3M tape already, although I might see if there's a clear version to do that a little bit better. I'm going to need to buy the D battery eliminators, and I'm going to need to buy a big USB hub to plug into the wall. And I think I've got everything else. I think I've got a heat gun. I think I've got everything beyond that. So I'm going to go ahead and purchase these, and I'll tally them up at the end so you can see how much it ended up costing me. And I'll get back to you once they're all in. So that's the plan. Any questions? Yeah, me too. I realized as soon as I stopped recording that there were still some things I was a little unsure of, so I decided to double check my measurements before I bought anything, and I should also find the battery compartment because I didn't actually know how many batteries were in it. Full confession, at this point I'm still going off of what I'd seen in a video by Brick Legends, and I assumed that my battery situation would be more or less the same as his. What I had not considered was that I had absolutely no idea where the battery compartment actually was or how to get to it. I just could not find the battery compartment for the life of me. So I decided the best thing to do would be to start taking out screws. I got all the screws removed from the base, but when I went to lift the shell, this happened.
So a moment of truth here. This button is held on tightly. Ooh, that ripped in the back. Okay.
Drat. I need another way in. I thought for a moment I'd be able to unscrew the button from the inside this way, but it became pretty clear pretty quick I was gonna have to drill out some rivets.
Ooh, that worked. Cool. That whole thing just fell through. All right. Uh-oh. What if I'm doing the wrong ones? What if I'm actually supposed to be doing these ones instead? That could be bad.
So here's what actually happened here. I got about 8 rivets in before I heard something fall inside, and I stopped. Turns out these rivets weren't holding the base together at all.
That was much easier.
Those were holding in the battery compartments. The actual fasteners for the base were these little black pushpin rivets in the 4 corners that I hadn't even noticed. So the base was still held on as tight as ever. The battery compartments, on the other hand...
This I should not have taken off.
So now 2 of the battery compartments only have 2 rivets holding them in, and one of them has none. At least I have access to the battery compartments now, so I cut the zip tie holding this one shut, and it turns out that there's way more batteries than I thought. Each one of these battery cases holds 4 batteries, and there are 4 of these cases. 16 batteries in total. So I removed the push button from the front and disconnected the whole system from the batteries for safety.
Okay. This is preventing us from lifting. Yep, so we're going to cut this zip tie. There it is. That's very strange. I can now reach in all the bits. Oh, it turns out there was a crushed ladybug back there. Excellent. Excellent. Minor damage here and back here, but we can kind of cover those up, I'm sure. Got our lid here. We're in good shape. Okay, man, it is 10:40 p.m. It's been a week since I've started this project, and I've been working on this schematic of the display now for about 2 hours, and I'm very worried that this is going to be not feasible. There's a lot of measurements that needed to be taken. There's going to be a lot of holes that need to be drilled into the acrylic, which I'm very nervous about cracking the acrylic and breaking it. And I'm worried that I'm going to get these measurements wrong, and this acrylic is very expensive. And so I'm worried that I'm going to just completely screw it up and destroy the whole thing. And that's going to be a big problem. So morale is low, and resources are high, and gosh, I hope this looks good in the final edit when I come through victorious on the other side. I'm also nervous because the acrylic is semi-UV resistant, not completely UV resistant, and I kind of realized as I was looking at it, like, maybe I want to get something that's a little bit more robust. It started making me question if I actually knew what I was doing in terms of all the materials in here, all the material sciences and measurements, and how I'm going to proceed with all of this. And the answer is no, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring out as I go. And so that makes me nervous for once all the materials get in and I start actually working with plastic. Like, did I get all the right stuff? Am I doing this the right way? Is it going to look good? Am I going to ruin it? Am I going to make it, well, I guess my biggest fear is, am I going to make it look worse than it does already? Am I going to make it look worse than when I got it? Because that's like the worst case scenario, right? I mean, it came in looking pretty rough, and here I am going, yeah, I can do better. And what if I can't? What if I can only do worse? So that's not a good feeling, but we'll see.
I persevered, although at this point, I realized I needed to go in a different direction. Instead of ordering raw sheets and cutting them myself, it would be smarter to have them professionally laser cut and shipped directly to me. I went with a service called Send Cut Send, but to do that, I had to submit a CAD file, that's computer assisted design. Basically, a precise digital blueprint with exact dimensions and cutouts marked for every hole and screw position, so I got measuring. Every panel, every screw hole, every distance between fasteners, and I quickly ran into my first complication, which is that this display speaks 2 different languages. The overall shell dimensions are in inches because it was designed for American store shelving, but all the hardware placements are in centimeters. So I'm constantly converting back and forth, which is exactly as error-prone as it sounds. Many an hour of measuring later, I built a full 3D mock-up in my design software with all 5 panels represented, and was feeling pretty good about it, which, in retrospect, I probably should have been more suspicious of. Okay. We're pacing back and forth in the living room. I just pressed purchase complete order on the laser cutting to get my sheets of plastic laser cut. And it was less than it probably could have been, less than if I tried to do it myself and messed it up and had to start over. But more than I thought it was going to be, more than I was planning on spending on this project as a whole. and you know, the thoughts that are running through my mind, like, what if I messed it up? I didn't. I measured everything so many times. I spent like 6 hours just measuring the base with my tape measure, and I'm positive that I have the dimensions right. I'm positive that I have the thickness of the acrylic right, so that if the way that I'm sandwiching it all together is going to be correct. I'm going to have the front panel in the front, and then obviously, but it's going to go in front so that hang on. Okay, I'm going to try to show you how I'm doing this using Lego plates. I'm going to use 2x3s here, and I'm going to use 2x2s to represent the sides. So basically, I'm going to have my front panel like this. Then my side panels, instead of going on the sides like this, they are going to get sandwiched like this in between. So it'll be front panel like this, and then back panel on the back. And then the top panel is just going to rest on top of all of them. So it'll be something like that, but with 4 sides. So that's 5 pieces of acrylic in total. Like I said, a lot more money than I was willing to spend, but I told my wife how much it cost and she didn't yell at me, so I consider that to be a win. And hopefully I still feel like I'm winning after all of this is done. But not that Lego has ever been a cheap hobby. Let's be so for real, but oh man, it's all in the nature of this being just the best version of this store display that I could possibly have. And I think it's going to, if I can do it right, it's going to be awesome. So I will see you when everything actually arrives for real this time, as opposed to the last time I said it and then I changed my whole mind and my whole plan, and this time for real.
So today is day, gosh, I don't even know, but it's past Valentine's Day. Let's see, it's day, what's 21 minus 6? Day 15. The acrylic has been ordered, and it is actually arriving as of today. It's arriving tomorrow. So that's exciting and nerve-wracking, as you can imagine. What I'm aiming to do today is pop into my design program, and I'm going to grab this picture that I took of the top of the display. And it has all of the cables running, and it has all of the lights on it. Now, this picture was taken perfectly level, perfectly flat from the top down. So what I'm hoping to do, and this might not be possible with lens distortion and such things, but what I'm hoping to do is to be able to overlay this onto the top of the design for the top panel. And I'm hoping to be able to chart out where all of these lights are going to have to go, so that when I transition all of these lights to the new acrylic shell, I should be fine. Gosh, I've started dreaming about this project. I had a dream last night where this whole top panel was suddenly covered in like graphics that I had to somehow transfer over to the new panel. And there was just all these unexpected little things that were cropping up, and I am losing my mind on a project that I did not expect to be losing my mind on. So, wish me luck. We'll dive right into this and see how it goes. Okay, so over here we have about 20 centimeters to this corner right there. And then over here, we have just about that corner right there, 200 millimeters, which is the same as 20 centimeters for reference. So I consider this a win. It's here. I'm unexpectedly nervous. I'm hoping for a couple of things here. 1, has to be the right size. That's very important. 2, the screw holes have to be the right spacing. They have to be the right size. And 3, has to look good, I guess. I feel like I should be wearing gloves, but I don't have any gloves. So I'm just gonna try very hard not to get my fingerprints all over this. But it will inevitably happen, I'm sure.
This is Sour Punch. This is candy. Why not? We'll save that for later. This is a sticker from the manufacturer. This is the side panels. There are 2 here. This is the front, back, and top panels. There are 3 here. Let's start with the side panels, just because I'm nervous. Oh, I forgot that they're going to be wrapped. Yeah, they're wrapped in this paper. So actually, I can test and make sure that they're all the right size without getting my fingerprints on it. That's awesome. Okay, so here it is. In the back, we're not going to worry about the top panel for a little bit. Looks pretty good. That looks about right. I thought there was a difference in the height here, but it's just my mat, actually. Let's see if we can get some screws in it. I mean, they fit, so that's a good first start. This one also lines up. Okay, so our side panels work more or less. My heart is pounding, actually, right now. I'm very weirdly nervous about this. It's just so out of my, expertise. And I know I keep saying it a lot, but it is true. I'm, equal parts excited and very nervous. This is our front panel. Before we bother with the screws, let's just see if this button lines up properly. It's a snug fit, but oh my gosh, wow, that's perfect. Wow, 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 look at that. It fits perfectly, there's no wiggle to it. It just fits. Okay, assuming everything else lines up that well, we are in for a treat. Okay, so one thing, I don't think this is right. Well, no, it might be. One thing I'm seeing is that the height doesn't seem to be correct. I don't think I took the right amount of space off the sides. That's not good. I don't think I took enough off the top because they are much taller than the front and the back, but I don't know, maybe I did. We'll see. These screws seem like they're working okay. That hole looks like it's lined up decently. These ones are a little bit tighter than the ones on the sides, but that might just be fine. Yeah, there's a pretty significant height difference here. Oh, I see. I don't think I got this measurement correct. I don't know. This might be a problem for later. Oh, rats. I don't think I got the spacing on these 2 screws right. I don't think I got the height right on one of them. Maybe I could take it off, though, and make this right. Because this actually lines up almost perfectly. This one is if I take this off, then I can line those up correctly. Okay, well, this all might also have to do with the base here being the way that it is. Let me just screw these in all the way just to make sure that they're... Yeah. This screw hole is off. Especially because this hole and this hole line up perfectly, and this is off by ever so slightly much. And this is also off, yep, by about 1/8 of an inch. That's by about 1/8. Ah, drat. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe I planned for this. It's been a couple days. First impressions are that this is off as well, but we'll find out. And then the idea is, I haven't figured out how I'm going to attach this yet. This will rest on top here. And the idea is for it to rest on top of all 4. Just sitting like that. No, this piece is messed up. This isn't a straight line. This is a curve. Huh. I need to take a look at this.
At this point, I just got to jump in and explain what is going on, because I really thought that I knew what I was doing, and I really didn't. You see, at this point, I was just absolutely heck bent on proving that there was some sort of bowing to these pieces that the manufacturer had messed up, and that would be unacceptable. So I kept measuring them against my table and seeing these just giant gaps, which the manufacturer, I was going to insist that they fixed. The problem was that I needed to figure out how they were actually bent. So I tried several different things. I tried measuring against a straight edge, I tried measuring against my table, I tried measuring them flat up against each other, and I kept getting different results. When I would measure them against my table, I would see the bowing. When I would try to stand them all up together and then put something on top, I would again see the bowing. When I put them side by side, they seemed perfectly flat. And when I put them up against a straight edge, you know, a thing that's designed to be straight, they were also perfectly flat. Now, you may have picked up what's going on here, but I didn't for far too long. And that is that my table is actually the one that is bowing. So that was screwing everything up. And on top of that, I'll tell you right now, my measurements were deeply, deeply wrong. You hear that thud? Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. The bottom of these panels are supposed to be perfectly flush with the bottom of the table. Yikes.
Yep. Yep, it's curved. On the top and the bottom. And a little bit on the side, but not too bad. Versus this top panel. Oh, is also a little bit, it's not flat. What the hey? Interesting. I don't like that.
But I proceeded to doubt and question and work myself up into a frenzy until...
Okie doke. So today was kind of a disappointing day. I got the acrylic sheets in and they're not right. There's a couple of things that are wrong with them. Some of them are my fault. Some of them are not my fault. The stuff that's my fault is that some of the measurements are not correct. I truly have no idea how and why, because I spent a very long time measuring them and double measuring them, you know, measure twice, cut once. I measured 5 or 6 times and I'm still gonna have to cut twice. That's a bummer. Because like I said before, it is really expensive. What was not my fault, however, is that all of the sheets are bowed on the sides. So when I try to stand them up together, they all are, you know, kind of are curved on the sides, which is not conducive to making a box, you know? So I think my plan at the moment is to ask them for a refund on the sides, you know, because they're all bowed. Even if I had gotten the measurements right, it wouldn't have worked. So the whole thing is unusable. Hopefully if I can get a full refund, then I can use that money towards a new set. So that's pretty disappointing and was pretty disheartening to find out because I was already so anxious about it. So now I'm sitting here on the floor in my basically pajamas. I went and took a shower and allowed myself to cool down a little bit because I was not having a good time. But now here we are and we have a plan for the future. So that is something. On the plus side, because I never like to leave something just feeling bad like that, I dove into the electronics in the base a little bit more because I realized that if I was going to replace every single one of the D batteries with those D battery to USB adapters, well, let's see, each one of them is $10 about, and there's 16 of them. You do the math. That was going to be incredibly expensive in and of itself. And I work in my day job in a variation of electrical work. So I was kind of looking at the circuit board in there and saying, I think I can do better than this. I think I can replace this. And I wasn't sure. There's kind of 2 different options I could go with this. One is to replace each one of the individual battery boxes with its own power cord. But I think because it has this connector, this DC connector, I think that I can just replace the actual power supply. I think that I can bypass all of those battery packs, all 16 batteries, all 4 battery packs. I could bypass that circuit board and I can just plug a 6-volt connector directly into the bit with the lights and power it that way. Pros,
It'll make the whole thing a lot lighter because those battery packs are pretty heavy. It also means that even though I have drilled out the rivets for the battery packs, that's fine because I don't need them. So I can actually drill out the remaining rivets, remove the battery packs completely from the bottom, and make the whole thing wall powered. Feels like removing a component that could have failed. We're just going straight to the source. And also it's going to make the whole thing a lot cheaper because that's one less thing that I have to buy. Well, I have to buy the power adapter, but that's, you know, a power adapter is $10 off of, you know, Best Buy or Amazon or whatever. So that's $10 that I'm spending instead of $160, which makes me feel a lot better given everything that's happened now with the acrylic. Cons are that it actually bypasses the power switch. So I won't be able to switch it on and off using the power switch in the back. Oh well, that's fine. I can just unplug it. It already has this giant hole in the back. The power switch will just become aesthetic, so it will look the same on the outside, and the power cable will just run to the wall, at which point I can install it with a smart plug, and I can have it work with my whole home automation system, which is exciting. I mean, that's awesome. Assuming it all works, which I think it should. So we have a plan. We're going to try to get the refund for the acrylics. We're going to buy the little power adapter, and we're going to see how that all works. Fingers crossed that this is the beginning of our redemption arc.
And this is, unfortunately, where I'm going to have to leave you for this part of the video. I hope that you enjoyed part 2 of the restoration process, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss out on part 3. I promise it will come out so much sooner than this one did compared to the first part. If you really, really enjoyed this process, or if you are really, really, really enjoying my content, I'm actually launching something new to help with the funding of this particular project, and that is that I'm creating a Patreon for the first time. Now, I've never done anything like this before. I've never done a sort of tiered payment system. I've never done a payment system in general, but I'm really having a fun time on this process, and it is also costing me just a crap ton of money. And so I really want to keep doing this kind of process for you. I want to keep making these kinds of videos for you guys, but I could honestly use a little bit of help. So if you really enjoyed this, consider checking that out. As some of my first content on there, I'm going to have, basically I filmed every second of this process, and I'm going to put a full, like, I don't know how long it is, 3, 4, 5 hour, just like video of me working on this. I don't know if you're really into the process or if you're looking for something to have on in the background while you're cleaning the house or working on a similar kind of restoration or Lego process. That will be up there as soon as this launches. And I'm also hoping to have part 3 of this series out up there a little bit early. So if you are interested in seeing that a little bit early, please consider supporting the channel. And I really appreciate you no matter what. I love you. And thank you, and I'll see you soon. Part 3. Bye-bye.